if you really look at life as being a huge school that's here to teach us everything we need to know, there is no end to learning. There is no better than here can be exemplified that as soon as you get to there, wherever there is, the T comes off and it becomes here. And there's a whole new set of theirs out there. The journey in life is moving from here to there, wherever there is. And that's actually the truth about coaching, because the word coach originally came from a horse and carriage that had wheels, and it would pick up a passenger at one location here, and then it would take them to their destination there, and then it would let them off. So when we coach people these days, we find them where they are. We determine where they want to go, their destination, and then we support them in getting to there. Now, the key thing about here and there is that often we live in this illusion that when I get to there, it's going to be better than it was here. The truth is, it'll be different. It may seem better, but in fact, when we get to there, there'll be a whole set of lessons that we have to learn there that are different than the lessons that we learned when we were here. It might be that you want to have a great relationship, want to be able to earn more money. It might be that you want to set up a business. But whenever you get to there, it doesn't mean that all the challenges go away. There'll just be a new set that you hadn't counted on, because of the illusion that when I lose that weight, then I'll be happy. When I win the lottery, then I'll be happy. When I find my soulmate, then I'll be happy.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Life Coach Code. On this podcast, we help you upgrade your spirit, mind, body, and heart so you can become the best version of yourself. If you want to dive deeper into each of these four fundamental pillars and uncover the secret superpower hidden within each of them, then I invite you to join the Superhuman University, where all of our coaches that we collaborate with will help you through courses and programs find this hidden superpower within each of these four fundamental pillars and help you unleash it so you can transform into a superhuman.
25 experts will work with you to teach you how to shape reality at your will, become financially abundant, align with your higher self, activate the supercomputer in your head, heal on every level, unleash the hidden reservoirs of energy, strength, and vitality, improve all your relationships, learn to listen to your inner GPS that knows the past, present, future. Become the ultimate creator of your life. Our promise to you is that the information inside the summit you cannot find anywhere else. This is not an event. It's the start of a journey. The fate of humanity is in your hands. Are you ready to make the most important choice of your life? And every life that will come from your DNA? What path will you take?
Today, I have something truly extraordinary for you. Today we have Dr. Chérie Carter Scott again on this podcast for part 2. And today we're gonna do something else, something different than the previous one. First, for those of you, very few who maybe haven't heard about her, let me introduce who Dr. Chérie is. So you can basically say that she started the coaching industry back in the 1974 when no one even knew what coaching even meant. And she paved the road for what coaching has become today. So that's why she's called the mother of coaching. She has over 20 published books right now. She sold over 5 million copies of her book, If Life is a Game, These Are the Rules. She is a New York Times best-selling author, and among many things, she also appeared on Oprah. Today, we're gonna focus with Dr. Chérie Carter Scott on her new book, which is Life is a Game. So, Dr. Chérie, it's such an honor and a blessing to have you on this podcast. It's a delight to speak with you. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Dejan. I'm happy to be here with you again.
So let's jump right into the first question. Your first book was called If Life is a Game, These Are the Rules. And the new book is called Life is a Game. So please tell me the contrast between these two books and what made you realize that actually life was a game during these 50 years.
Yes. Okay, so in 1974, when I discovered that I had something to offer people, which is the art of asking questions and staying connected and supporting people in overcoming their challenges and making the seemingly impossible happen. When I discovered that I had this capability, I asked a friend of mine, we were sitting together, and she said, you know, life is kind of challenging. And I said, it's really challenging. How do you find out what you're doing here, what your job is, what your mission is, what your purpose is? It's really challenging for us. And she said, it'd be great if we had some kind of guidelines. And I said, the rules for being human. It would be great if we had those, the rules for being human. She said, where would you start? I said, I'd start with the body, because everybody I know has one. And in order to be qualified as a human, you have to have a body. So in a few minutes, these very simple, very pure, universal truths were written on the paper. And they resonated on a very deep level because they're inclusive. They include all of us. They're not, this is true and that's not true, and you believe this and we believe that. They're inclusive. I don't care where you come from, as long as it's planet Earth. Wherever you come from, if you're a human, you have to have a body. You have yours, I have mine, and our listeners hopefully have theirs as well. So if life is a game, these are the rules. Those 10 rules for being human were written and placed into the 2-inch thick binder that we offered in our coach training in 1974. Years passed, and in Chicken Soup for the Soul was produced the first book in 1994, 20 years later. Jack Canfield had the rules for being human on page 84 by Anonymous. And people called me and said, didn't you write these? And I said, well, yes, I did. And they said, well, don't you think you should come out of the anonymous shadows and into the light? And I said, well, I guess maybe, but I really wrote them for the benefit of everyone. And they said, I think you should get credit. So what happened is those rules were put on our website. We found out that they were on 66 other websites at the same time, claimed by 66 other authors. So that was a challenge. But in any case, the book, which I got a very clear message to write, is called If Life is a Game, These Are the Rules. And there it is. If life is a game, these are the rules. 10 rules for being human. And they're on the back flap of the book right there, the 10 rules. That's me with long hair. Anyway, that book came out in 1998 and was very blessed by a lot of TV shows, radio shows, print media, including Oprah. And a lot of people resonated with them. They thought, these make sense. These kind of put life into a context, into a framework, and they make sense. Well, here we are, fast forward 25 years later. And a year ago, a dear friend of mine passed away. And I thought to myself, maybe it's time that I write my life story. And my dear husband said, yeah, you should do that. That's a good idea. And people around me said, yes, do that. So I thought, well, let's write them in the context of the rules for being human. So this is the new book, which has, as you can see on the front of it, right there, if life is a game, these are the rules. And inside the book is my life story. And it starts out when I was a baby.
When you first got your body.
Yes, exactly. Rule number 1, I received a body. And the thing that was unfortunate, which I won't spoil the book if I read the whole book, but what was unfortunate is that I had 2 older sisters, and my parents were expecting Milton. And I didn't look like Milton when I was born. And they were disappointed because I couldn't be named Miltona or Miltini. So they named me Cherie. And why they named me Cherie? Because they didn't have a name. They couldn't think of a name for the new baby. So what happened is that was the body that I received. And throughout the book, I have different pictures of me and significant people in my house and my very first coach, which was my horse. Linda was the first coach. And the reason she was such a great coach is she was a great listener. She didn't judge me. She had a lot of empathy for me. And when I thought that nobody in the world understood me, I would go and talk to my horse. So why this book? Why this book? Why the two books? Why are they related? How come I did this? Because I discovered early on that each one of these lessons has played a major role in my life, a major role. And so at the end of each little segment, I will put a little bit of a story together, and then there'll be the questions. Like while I was in New York, my lesson, focus on the satisfying goal, and then questions for the reader. When have you felt trapped in your life? What did you do to change the situation? And did you do something that was repeatable? So every time there's a little segment of something that defined me. Well, the important thing is that as you walk through the rules for being human, what rule is up for you at this moment? What is life trying to teach you? And are you accepting it or resisting it? Are you embracing it and learning from it, or are you fighting it? And it's a very important question because many of us like to be in control. And when we're not in control, then we resist and we fight, as opposed to looking at the circumstances and saying, oh, maybe this is a moment to let go and to be able to release control.
Definitely. And I love how you put all of this together. It's brilliant because first you laid the foundations, you showed us the 10 rules for being human. And then after 50 years almost, you are revealing your life story and you are showing people that, yes, these 10 rules actually work and apply to life. And they were a huge part of your life. And you're showing everyone how they apply to your life. So we all have context for our own life to how we can actually look for these rules and see them and find them and realize in our own life that we are actually in a game, almost like a game. We are playing a game and we are here to, as you show through the rules, learn and grow our own souls. So a lot of your rules are focused on learning, that the lessons are repeating, that there's no stop for learning. You just start learning and that's your life. So how much learning has been a part of your life? And maybe you can share a story that these rules really applied hard on your life.
As a matter of fact, the whole thing has been about learning. Everything has been about learning. And there are certain times when at least my ego would take over and say, well, I've learned enough, or I know enough, or I don't need to learn anymore, which is kind of a naive way of looking at life. Because if you really look at life as being a huge school that's here to teach us everything we need to know, there is no end to learning. It never stops. I mean, you don't really get a summer vacation or graduation. It just keeps on going indefinitely. So a story from my book that really would exemplify this would be, let's see. The end of childhood. That's number 25. I had prayed and meditated and asked God to give me direction because my mother died when I was 20. My father got remarried, moved to Florida, and sold everything that we identified as home And so when I was at college, there was no home to go home to. When we had spring break or summer vacation, there was no home. That was kind of shocking in and of itself. But as I was praying, saying, give me some guidance, give me some direction, let me know the purpose of my life. What am I doing here? What do I have to offer? I started getting messages. Now, a message is different from an intuition. An intuition is a kind of knowingness or a sixth sense that something's going to happen or that you're connected to something. Whereas a message is like a tap on the internal shoulder that tells you to do something. And it's usually illogical, irrational, unreasonable, and inconvenient. And you don't want to do it because it stretches you. It stretches you out of your comfort zone and it makes you feel a little bit strange. So as I'm praying for guidance and direction, all of a sudden I get this message that says, you're a catalyst. And I thought, it's nice, but I don't really know what a catalyst is. So I looked it up and it said, it's something that gets something or someone else to do something. I thought that's pretty vague, but all right. And then I got another message a little bit later and it said, you're to work in growth and development. I was clear about that. Then the third message came and it said, you have a gift for working with people. So I thought, okay, 3 messages. What do I do with that? What do I do with that? I mean, put it on a business card? What do I do with it? So what happened is that I was contacted by a friend named Lloyd. Lloyd said to me, I'd like you to help me with my business. I said, I'm trying to figure out the purpose of my life, but thank you for calling. Appreciate it. 2 weeks later, he called again. He said, I'm serious. I really want you to help me with my business. And I said, you know, I don't really know a lot about business. I didn't major in business. I'm not a business person per se. And there are people who do that for a living. So why don't you call one of them? 2 weeks later, he called a third time. And I said, Lloyd, why are you calling me? He said, because I trust you. He said, well, that's very nice that you trust me, but I don't know anything. He said, that could be very helpful. I said, you want to pay me knowing that I don't know anything? He said, yes, I do. I was a little bit amazed and shocked, but I thought, well, I've been honest, I've been ethical, I've been sincere and told the truth, but if you want to pay me knowing full well that I don't know anything, I accept. So he was my first client. And when I was working with him, these questions came forth from a very deep place inside. Curious questions, honest questions, childlike questions. What's your vision for your company? What do you want it to look like? What's your greatest desire? What is it that you wanted to achieve or accomplish? Just lots and lots of questions that were just very pure. And at the end of it, he looked lit up as if he had seen an apparition. And he left my office telling people about this friend of his who asked these outstanding questions, and he got clear on what he wanted his business to become. Well, it was hard for me at that young age to accept the fact that I had a gift. And, you know, people would say, well, where were you trained? Or who educated you? Or where did you go to school? The truth was, I had this capacity to ask simple, pure, sincere, curious, compassionate questions and to create a safe environment so people could tell the truth, starting with Lloyd. It was something that I didn't really believe that everybody couldn't do. And so when Lloyd would tell people about me and the phone would ring, and they'd say, can you work with me on my relationship? I said, you have your answers inside of you. I'll help you find them, but I'm not going to tell you what to do. Will you help me about my decision to go back to school? You have your answers inside of you. I'll help you find them, but I'm not going to recommend or suggest. Well, what about I want to start a business? Can you help me with that? I'll help you find your answers. So my consistent answer was, I will help you find your answers, your truth. Underneath the confusion, doubt, uncertainty, and fear, we'll find your truth together. And a lot of people said, but whatever, I just hear you do a great job and I want to try it out. Well, it was consistently working. And I didn't know exactly what to call it. I'm a catalyst. I'm a consultant. I'm a coach. I didn't know exactly what to call it. But enough people came to me and wanted me to coach them. And then subsequently, they wanted me to train them to become a coach, as I was. So those were very uncomfortable times for me because I felt uncertain, insecure, and I had a lot of self-doubt. Like, how come me? How come I could do this? I'd ask other people, can't everybody do this? The answer was, maybe, but they don't. They have opinions, they have suggestions, they have ideas, they have a lot to add to the conversation, but they aren't those pure questions that you ask. And I said, really? I said, yeah. You're asking questions from a very sincere place without criticism or judgment or any agenda. You don't have a, you should do this or you should do that. It's very pure, letting people find their way with your helping hand, so to speak. That was one of the first earliest big challenges that I had to tackle was, who am I? Why am I here? And can I trust this? Because I'm just me. And I don't know how to make sense out of this capability that I have. That was a big one for me.
And that's the rule number 9. Your answers lie inside you. And isn't that what life coaching is, right? Life coaching, as you say, is showing the people the way that their answers are within them and how to find them through asking the right questions. A great life coach is the life coach who asks the best questions, right? Who asks the questions that can trigger the person's answers within them so they can surface and they can realize, aha, this is maybe what I should do. Life coaches never tell people, almost never, some do, but life coaches, the real ones, don't tell people what they should do. They just ask people sincere, as honest questions, curious questions, as you say, that help people figure out the answers within them. And as we know, we live and nobody asks us these questions. We live in this automatic mode, like, oh, did you see this thing on news? Did you see this thing on social media? The weather is nice. And we don't really ask ourselves really deep questions that can maybe solve many of our issues. But when a life coach comes and they are like, so what makes you happy in life? Just a simple question like this. Nobody asks us this. And when we have an opportunity and the safe space to think about this, the answer is within us. We already know. We just didn't have time to sit down and think about this. And that's why having a life coach in your life is so important. It's like a friend plus therapist plus a guide that's all helping you to become the best version of yourself. And you are one of the people that was the catalyst for this industry. And also you are one of the best life coaches I know that is really so sincere and honest, and it can really penetrate through any barrier with the right questions. So thank you for doing what you're doing and for being who you are. Other than this, I want to focus on rule number 6, which is there is no better than here, you say. And this is probably the teaching of many spiritual scripts. A lot of spiritual philosophies are focusing exactly on this thing, that the right here, right now is all there is. And if you are able to configure your mind and yourself, your being, to see that, then you achieve enlightenment. Then you see that everything is already perfect, and that there is nothing else uh, for you to try to achieve in order to experience the beauty of this life. So I want you to share a little bit about this rule, if it's possible.
Sure. There is no better than here can be exemplified that as soon as you get to there, wherever there is, the T comes off and it becomes here. And there's a whole new set of theirs out there. Now, the journey in life is moving from here to there, wherever there is. And that's actually the truth about coaching, because the word coach originally came from a horse and carriage that had wheels, and it would pick up a passenger at one location here, and then it would take them to their destination there, and then it would let them off. So when we coach people these days, we find them where they are. We determine where they want to go, their destination, and then we support them in getting to there. Now, the key thing about here and there is that often we live in this illusion that when I get to there, it's going to be better than it was here. The truth is, it'll be different. It may seem better, but in fact, when we get to there, there'll be a whole set of lessons that we have to learn there that are different than the lessons that we learned when we were here. But they're not necessarily easier. There might be more difficult than the ones that were here. So as we set ourselves a goal, I want to go there, it might be that you want to have a great relationship. It might be that you want to be able to earn more money. It might be that you want to set up a business. It might be that you want to look great and feel great about yourself. I mean, 1,000 different goals in life. But whenever you get to there, it doesn't mean that all the challenges go away. There'll just be a new set that you hadn't counted on, because of the illusion that when I lose that weight, then I'll be happy. When I win the lottery, then I'll be happy. When I find my soulmate, then I'll be happy. And the cycle goes, when I X, then I will be happy, be fulfilled, be satisfied, find enlightenment, whatever you want to call it. But it's the when I, then I syndrome that lands in that here, there. Now, the key thing is to realize that there is no better than here. It's different. And it will have its set of learnings and lessons to teach us whatever we need to learn on our journey in the big school of life. But it isn't necessarily going to make everything okay.
I always imagine it like playing Tetris. When we play Tetris, this famous game, the blocks are always falling down. And if it's like you are saying, I'll be happy when I clear the screen from all the blocks. But you forget that then second later, a new block comes. And then you will try again to clear the screen, and then a new block will come. And that's life. That's the lessons coming to you. You can, even if you made everything perfect like you wanted it to be, the next second, everything is gonna be different, and there will be a new lesson to be learned, because the core law of this universe is entropy. Like every life pushes everything to entropy. We are born and then we die. The universe is expanding. Things are going further and further away from each other. So in this all changing universe, you cannot focus on making something perfect, because it's continually changing. So when you understand this law of life and law of the universe, then the next thing that's left is that, okay, so if I cannot attain perfection, the perfection that your mind is projecting as an illusion, then maybe the things are already perfect. So maybe I should come back here in my body, which is always in the present moment. It cannot be anywhere else, even if we wanted it to be. Like, you cannot go in the past. Currently, maybe in the future we can go, but your body is always the vessel that is in the present moment. And if when you come back to your body, then you're coming back to the present moment. And if you allow your mind to calm down, then you're going to realize that everything is already here. Everything is perfect. And the perfection that you're looking for is here. You just need to look for it, and you need to find it around you, because you're living on this amazing, beautiful planet that's circling around the fireball in this vast, expanding universe. It's almost like magic. And you are surrounded with so many beautiful souls you can share this wonderful experience with. There are trillion things that you can do right at this moment that you will be happy about doing. There are so many things you can learn, foods you can try, songs you can hear, poems you can read, movies you can watch. Like, there are so many things that are around you already that are given to you for free. You just need to allow yourself to see this. And I believe this rule is, at least for me, that's what it's speaking, that there is no better than here. That because there is here, as you say. If we are on the horse, on the coach of the horse, and we are going to somewhere else, the life coach is helping the person get the better relationship, get the better job, grow in their career, whatever it is. But if we are coming from a place of here is not good, there will be better, then we might get disappointed, because, as you say, it's going to be different. Maybe it's going to be even the same, which leads me to the next rule, that lessons are repeat until they're learned, right? So we might think we want a better job, and then we arrive to the better job, and then we see that we are keep repeating the pattern. We are keep being in the same loop, and the same lessons are just showing up. Can we focus on this rule?
Absolutely. It's something that I think the universe has a sense of humor, because when the same lesson shows up in a different person with a different suit on, a different pair of pants, and all of a sudden it's like, you sure have similarities to the last person who was here. How can this be? How can this be going on? This is really amazing. And it seems like if we resist the lessons and we fight them, they keep persisting. And they persist until we finally get them. When we finally get them and we surrender to the lesson and we say, okay, I get it. I understand that this is supposed to teach me about abundance or humility, or to teach me to have more compassion. It's here to teach me this. When we get the lesson, then the actual test of it's going to be repeated until learned, it's going to be repeated until learned over and over again, and then poof, it goes away because we got it. And it's amazing how it happens that way, because once you learn it, if it shows up again, it doesn't have any significance because you already learned it. So it's kind of like it's part of the past. It's not part of the future. So many times, we have these things that come up. I mean, one of the things in my life was attachment to things. So when my house burned down when I was 12 years old, it was devastating. All my toys, my clothes, my horse statue collection. I mean, everything that I had in the world was gone. And I didn't know quite how to handle that because I just had a lot of loss. And I remember turning to my mother and her saying, what's most important in life is not material possessions. It's the relationship that we have with each other. It's the love that we have. It's the courage that we have. It's the ability to start over. Material things are there and they're gone, but that's not the real value in life. That was a lesson that she said to me, and I thought, I'm not sure I understand what she's saying, but as it repeated itself and repeated itself, I started to get it. Whether it was somebody stealing something from me, or whether it was my ex-husband walking out and having nothing left, my father disinheriting all of his children. I mean, it was a lesson that was repeated and repeated and repeated. And then when I finally learned it, like, okay, this material thing, it's gone. I lost it. It was stolen. It was burned up, the fire. It's gone.
Yeah, there's so many times we attach ourselves to the physical things because, of course, it's obvious. We can see these things and it's obvious to find value in these things because they're there with us in our world. They exist. However, we later in life, only when we start losing few of these material things, we learn that there is some layer beneath or beyond these material things that is what we actually attach to. And we cannot learn this lesson unless we lose our toys, right? Unless we have that heartbreak and unless we lose that job. Because this lesson is that don't look so much on the surface, look within that. What are you actually attaching to? Maybe the toys give you some comfort that you cannot find around you, and that's what you're attaching to. Maybe the heartbreak is you are attaching to a person that is mirroring an aspect of yourself that you've been suppressing. So it's maybe teaching you to look within yourself and maybe embrace this aspect, right? Then maybe the job is teaching you that you are too much following money and material possessions, that maybe you are actually what you are actually looking is opportunities and freedom. So all of these deeper layers, we cannot actually look in them if these toys are not taken away from us, right? So I guess this is the wisdom of life and the universe. And then we attach to these things, and then maybe we lose these things, and then we realize, okay, there is a deeper layer, and then we come to the realization that attachment in itself means that sooner or later we're going to lose this, we're going to need to give this thing up, right? I mean, at the end of the life, we are even giving up our own bodies. So maybe the biggest lesson of life is learning detachment, or learning how to attach and then be able to let go of things in a graceful way by learning the lesson, because we cannot learn the lesson unless we attach to something. So attaching in itself is not bad, but the problem is with letting go when the time is to let go. So I believe this is really important. I want to hear your thoughts on this.
Oh, I think you nailed it. It's not the attachment that's the difficult part. It's the letting go of the attachment. But the more attached we are to something, and that thing or person or entity being attached to our okayness, in other words, I'm okay because you love me. I'm okay because I have possessions, or I'm okay because I have youth. I'm okay because of something. And as we're attached to that thing, and then it goes away, then the next challenge is, are you ready, willing, and able to let go of that thing that you defined as making or causing your sufficiency, your okayness? And that's a tough thing, because once we identify that I'm okay because I have blonde hair, I'm okay because I have light skin, I'm okay because whatever reason, and then we lose it. Like, for instance, I had 2 good legs growing up. And a few years ago, I had to have 2 knee surgeries because I was bone on bone, with no cartilage anymore. I was attached to my cartilage went away, I got 2 new knees. This last year, I had a fall, you know about it. I had a fall and I broke my hip. My hip got better and better and better. That was my right hip. 4 months later, I broke my left hip. And that's 2 hips. So now I have 2 new knees and 2 new hips. That's called unattachment, letting go of the knee, letting go of the hips, because it was partly how I define myself. I'm an athlete. I'm athletic. I can run around and do things. I have to let go of that expectation. It's no longer the case. I'm learning how to walk again, but I'm not running around yet. Not yet. I don't know if I ever will be. But each attachment that we form, that's part of our identity or how we define ourselves, has to be examined. And when it's taken away for whatever reason, then we have to look at, who am I without it?
That's profound. And I didn't know you broke your other hip, by the way, and I wish you best recovery. I know you're one of the strongest people I know, and you're gonna recover fast, and you're gonna learn to run again. But that's the thing, right? Whenever we start identifying ourselves with something that's not really us, that's not the pure form of us, which is our soul, it's sooner or later we're gonna have to face the lesson that we are not that thing. Be it a job, like I'm an accountant or I'm a salesperson, or be it something that you have as a skill, like, oh, I'm really smart, I can memorize things, or I'm really fast runner. Sooner or later your body is growing, it's changing, things are changing, and you will realize that that identity will have to shed, and there will be a new identity, which doesn't mean that you shouldn't have an identity. It just means to not prioritize things that are not really you over the things that are really you. What it's really you is your soul, and is this force of nature that evolved your body, that evolved your mind, your spirit, your heart, and which is primordial and which is eternal, and that's who you really are. That's how you come here on this planet. And if you start doing these side missions, I'm this, I'm that, then sooner or later you're going to realize you are sidetracking. You need to get back on the real path and remember who you really are. But there are so many things, because we live in society, and society is telling us this is wrong, this is right. uh, we study in school, the school is our world, and people might look at the cool kids differently than the kids who are actually studying. So there are many opportunities, so to say, for us to be shown a piece of us that is wrong, and some piece of us that is maybe right. So we will focus on this piece that is right in the eyes of others more, and suppress the piece that is wrong in the eyes of others, so we don't show it, so we can adapt and be fit in the society that we're growing in. But these things are creating, uh, how to say, they're creating a detachment of our real power within us. It's like a river, and we are just making the river sidetrack, and it's becoming less powerful, and then a new river come, new side river, and then we become less and less powerful, because we are cutting pieces of us to fit within society, pieces that were labeled as wrong. If we're too loud, then we need to fit and be silent. If we are too much creative, then we are a dreamer, we need to focus and be more logical. If we are too much logical, then we are just emotionless, we need to show more emotion, we need to not be logical. It's so many ways that society is telling us you shouldn't be this, you should be that, and this is making us so much in pieces and in parts. And I believe that these parts will show up in your life to teach you to re-embrace yourself. It will show you through people, through relationships, through your job, your boss. There will be events, as Carl Jung says famously, the things that we are not, and I'm gonna butcher this quote, but it's something like this: the things we are not accepting within our own psyche, we are seeing them outside as events, which is brilliantly encapsulating what I'm trying to say. That the pieces of us that we are just diminishing and cutting away from us, they will appear as another person. That's why codependent people attract so much narcissists, right? Because this narcissistic selfish part within them, they have detached from, and they are not identifying anymore with this part within them. So the universe says, okay, let me show you the part that you're actually not identifying outside, so you can actually start loving this part, with hope that you can start finding this part within you and start loving this part within you again. So I want you to focus on this, because this is one of your lessons too. This your rules, seventh rule: others are only mirrors of you, and they are mirrors, especially of the parts that you've been suppressing into your shadow.
So, yeah, I would call those the disassociated parts. And there are two ways that the mirror works. Others are only mirrors of you. You can see a person and appreciate them and think they're wonderful and inspiring, uplifting, that you want to be like them, that you want to live your life like them. And anyway, that mirror is mirroring back to you your embraced self, the parts of you that you have said, those are the parts that I want to embrace. I want to become that. I want to allow those to be, to shine forth, and to be who I am. But then there's the other side, which is when you see people who you judge, who maybe you judge harshly, or you criticize, or you find fault with. And that's mirroring back those disassociated parts, the parts that you said, that's not me. That's not part of me. I'm not like that. But we're all of it. That's the real fundamental truth here, is that we are all of it. We are the narcissistic part. We're the codependent part. We're the part that's loving and caring. We're the part that's intolerant and judgmental. We're all of it. And until we embrace all of ourselves, the goodness and the not so goodness, the greatness and the limitations, until we embrace it all, we do not allow ourselves to be fully who we are. We're just allowing people to see, say, one side of us, but not the full picture. And we have to embrace the full picture first, and then allow ourselves to appreciate others that are like us, but also completely different from us, and that are reflecting something back that we've disowned along the way.
Can you share with us a little story that how this rule applied in your life?
Yes, I can. When I was 16 years old, I was walking down the street of New York City, and I was noticing for the very first time that there was a voice inside my head that was talking. Very first time. And it was like the fashion police. It was noticing what was wrong about each person. That person's shoes need to be polished. That person has a weird haircut. Or that person is wearing stripes and plaids together. They don't go together. That person is wearing orange and pink and red. And who dressed that person? I was hearing a voice inside my head that was criticizing something about everyone I saw on the street. And then I said to myself, I must be the only perfect person. And then I thought, that's not possible. So why am I finding the need to judge other people? Why am I finding that need to find out what's wrong with them? And then I thought to myself, maybe there's nothing wrong with them. They seem perfectly fine with their stripes and plaids, perfectly fine with their haircut, perfectly fine with their flood pants or their unpolished shoes. They're fine with it. I'm the one who has a problem with it. It's my problem. It's not their problem. I have a problem judging other people. And then I asked myself, why do I have a need to judge other people? To find what's wrong with them. And then this huge flash came to me. It allows me to feel better about myself. It allows me to feel superior. It allows me to feel as if I'm better than other people. And that's the moment that I realized that I had work to do. Because in order to be able to get over my judgmentalness, I had to accept myself first and foremost and stop judging other people. Because if I embraced myself in my totality, I would have no need to judge others. I would have no need to find fault. I would have no need to make them less than I was. And that was when my journey towards personal development and growth started.
Thank you so much for sharing this. And I can also relate. Many times in my life, I've been just judging and judging. Like you can see somebody in the metro, or you can see somebody walking down the street, and you subconsciously just project some judgment onto them. You don't even know their life, but because of maybe they remind you of some person you saw on TV, on some movie, or maybe you have an idea about specific traits of certain people. You have some stereotypes and you're judging. But what I realized is that it's a double-edged sword. When you judge another person, you're also training this judgment part to judge yourself when you're looking in the mirror. So you are making your life harder for yourself. It's like training in the gym, but you're training this muscle for judgment, and you are making it strong. So when you look yourself in the mirror, it's gonna judge you, and it's gonna judge you and say this is wrong, this is right, based on society's expectations, based on what you adopted as a child. That's good, that's bad, that's wrong, and it will make your path to accept your wholeness harder. So that's why in my life I realized that judgment is bad. It's not because it's not even because you're judging other people. It's because it's working against you. And as you said beautifully, when you're able to accept yourself fully, then you have no need to judge others. So this need to judge others is coming because there are certain parts of you that you don't accept yourself. So you want to feel better about yourself, and then you're judging others. It's like a shot for the ego. You're having an ego shot to feel superior and better than others. And what I've realized is that the things you judge the most hold within them the key to the things that you love the most. It's literally like yin yang. Within the light, there is the seed of darkness, and within the darkness, there is the seed of light. And the beautiful symbol of yin yang, one of my favorite symbols, it's such a simply describing maybe everything in the universe. It's showing us that the good and the bad, the light and the dark are one, because the seed from the one is coming in the middle of the other. And unless we accept the other, we cannot fully embrace the aspect that we want to embrace. Unless we fully accept the darkness, we cannot fully unleash the light within us. So good, bad, right, wrong, they're all the two sides of the same coin. And that's why others are mirrors for us, to show us that we are all one, that there is no good, bad, right, wrong. There might be morally, but objectively speaking, universally looking, there is no good, bad, right, wrong. Everything is one, and we need to find way to merge these broken pieces, this as you said, these associative pieces within us, so we can become whole. And when we are whole, then we have no enemies outside. We have no need to judge. We have no ego to feel superior, because we know we are as unique as our thumbprint, and others are also as unique as their thumbprint, and we're all uniquely different. So there is not a single person that is the same as the other person. So we are all uniquely different. Then there cannot be superior or not superior, because we all have the same potential to be as powerful as we can be. We all have this potential within us. So we are all the most special because we have this potential, but we are also all the same because all of us have this potential. So there is no superior person. It's kind of a paradox, but when you look from a higher scale, this paradox actually makes really huge sense. So thank you so much for coming today on this podcast. I can speak with you for days and we can really dive deeper into each of these rules. But maybe we're gonna leave that for part 3. And because we already did 1 hour. And thank you so much again for being on this podcast. I had a delightful time being here with you. It's always a pleasure. I want to ask you if when people want to get your book, your new book, Life is a Game,
Yes.
how they can reach and what's the best way they can reach. We're going to put the links in the description, but I want you to officially invite them to get your book, because this book is one of the most profound books that anybody can ever read, because it's not just showing the life lessons. It's actually showing your life story, and through your life story, you are showing people where the lessons apply, and also you're asking the right question, which is something you are a superhero about. You have this superpower to ask questions. So you're asking the right questions for people to actually ask themselves and find these rules and lessons within their own life.
So here's the book, and it's called Life is a Game, Life Lessons Learned Living, The Rules for Being Human. And they can get it on Amazon.com. It's for sale there if they want to be able to get hardback, softback, or an ebook. So all three are available now. In the near future, Kindle books will be available as well, and also Audible, but not quite yet. But here's the book. There it is. And that's me.
Thank you so much for this invitation. We will put all the links in the description. So again, I invite everyone that is interested to learn the game of life, to learn the rules of the game of life. You can go to the links in the description and you will find how to get Dr. Cherie's new book, Life is a Game. And if you want also, we will put the link from her first book, If Life is a Game. So you can get the two books, and maybe you can do comparison between the two books. It's going to give you more complete picture. And one more thing, please, if you read the book and you like it, or even if you don't like it, which is not going to happen, but please leave a review, give us a feedback, because it really helps us more than you can realize. The algorithms work this way that we need the reviews. And also we need to know the feedback from you so we can know what worked, what didn't work, or maybe you had some questions that you need answers to, and we can focus on answering them. Thank you again, Dr. Cherie, for coming on this podcast. Again, it was such a pleasure talking to you. Definitely we're going to have part 3, and we're going to focus more on the other rules that we skipped today, but people can find them within your books. For anybody that want to transform into superhuman, as we said, you can join the Superhuman University, and inside you're going to find all the programs and courses that you need to unleash the secret superpowers that are hidden within your spirit, mind, body, and heart. And when you embrace these superpowers, then you're going to live a more superhuman experience of life. This being said, all the links are in the description. Thank you for being here with us on this podcast, and see you in the next episode.